You can get it. Marvelous.
Yo, what's good? Welcome back to the channel, y'all. And look, before we start, you guys see it in the thumbnail, y'all see it in the title. We're gonna be going over an OP10 official tier list. Look, OP10 has literally been out for exactly a month, and the Japan meta has developed like something we probably never even thought was possible. Okay, blue black Usopp is actually doing something and growing up. Okay, he's no longer getting backpacked by just a color combination between the blue and black. He's actually out here fucking people's bitches when it comes to the Japanese meta. Fact, not an opinion. So look, let's go ahead and get straight into it. But before we start, if you hopped off the porch, okay, if you became a member, a JIT delinquent on the channel, you guys see all the JITs that literally hopped off the porch, decided to put in some work instead of just sitting on the sidewalk like everybody else. Look, what I need you guys to do is link your Discord to your YouTube and go ahead and slide through to the VIP section. I'm gonna need you guys to link your Discord and YouTube so you guys can slide through to the VIP section. Look, Brock is bringing the strippers in the loud later. Okay, it's finna be a movie. You might even see another motherfucker snip some shit out of a girl's butthole. Okay, you just don't know. You just don't know. But hey, nonetheless, if you did become a member and support the channel, first off, thank you. Second off, make sure you link your Discord and your YouTube so you can have access to our VIP section. Like I said, Brock got you covered. It's going to be a movie. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get straight into the content, gang. So welcome back, y'all. Look, I was scrolling one day on Twitter and I ended up finding a accurate tier list for the Japanese meta. Came up on my feed completely by accident, but we're gonna go over this. As you guys can see, it has 164,000 views. Actually insane. I don't know who's looked at this so far, but we're gonna go over this. This is the proper tier list. Let's go ahead and read what this guy even says. Kai_PKK my. This week's evaluation table. Starting this week, the upper part has been broken down into more specific categories. The constructed of blue black lies have been further refined, widening the power gap. Compared to the 1.5 decks, its power is so high that it can be raised to the first tier. That's surprising, as its only unfavorable matchup is against Blackbeard. Also, due to the influence of blue black lies, the position evaluation of the 1.5 to 2 tier groups has changed, so I updated them. So this is the tier list. So instead of actually us just going over this particular tier list, let's go ahead and click it again. Besides us just going over this particular tier list this guy made, let's go over to our initial tier list that the delinquents ended up coming up with. So this is the exact tier list that we just saw in Twitter. I feel like it's a little bit better just looking at it in this type of view because I can add the cards to the side. And look, I'm not going to surprise everything. Let's just go ahead and get straight into it. The tier 1 deck, the best deck, is Blue Doflamingo. And this is exactly what I'm telling you guys, okay? We're not going to talk too much about this deck because it's been running havoc in the West since OP 8.5. Nothing has changed. Nothing was added. But this is why I tell you this deck is more than likely might get hit in the future, because it's getting to a point where it doesn't matter what they come out with, this is still going to be the most popular and most represented deck in the format. And as a company, Bandai does not want you using year-old decks. They want you to use what's new in the new set. So I could see something coming to this leader in the future, since this literally doesn't look like anything has changed. This is still the best deck in the format, just being able to spin the Jinbei, the Weevil, the Trafalgar Law, having an unblockable event, the Robin. I mean, it's literally the same exact deck you guys been playing with since OPO 8.5. And quite honestly, I can really see something happening to this deck in the near future. So best deck in the format in the Japanese meta, Doflamingo. Nothing else has really changed. So that's enough of boring Blue Doflamingo. Let's go ahead and get straight into some real decks that got some new support, such as this Blackbeard. Blackbeard is in a 1.5. If it was me, I'll still put it right here, but we're gonna follow their tier list. They put it in tier 1.5, which is still kind of tier 1, but nonetheless, let's go over it. The main reason why this deck is still real shiesty in my opinion, and literally in Japan's opinion as well, just based off results and just, you know, what people are feeling towards this particular year, is that this is the second best deck in the format. I told you this will either be the best deck in the format or the second best, depending on, you know, who you ask. And in this particular tier list, the person that made this felt like this is the second best deck of the format. Fact, not an opinion. Nothing has really changed with Blackbeard except for 2 cards that they're really meaning out of OP10. The first one is Liberation. You guys see it on the screen. Let's go ahead and read it. If you have 2 or more characters less than your opponent, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with an original cost of 6 or less, and one of your original costs with a 4 or less. So this literally removes 2 cards from the field. Very shiesty in my personal opinion. And the main reason why this deck really got a huge boost is because of this Kuzan you guys see on the screen. This character cannot be removed from the field by any of your opponent's effects, so this literally just sits on the board until you're literally ready to use it, which is actually insane. And then the main thing of this card is this Activate Main. Activate Main, you may trash this character, draw 1 card, then play up to 1 Blackbeard type character card with a cost 5 or less other than Kuzan. Okay, when the meta first started, they were playing the Rush Burgess, but from a lot of lists I've been seeing, a lot of the Blackbeards have been actually cutting the Rush Burgess and just opting out to run exactly the same exact build we are currently running in OP10. The only 2 cards they really added in OP10 is this Kuzan and that Liberation, but the main reason why this card is just so good and so tough because it can't be removed by anything, and then it allows you to use your leader ability for free because it gives you a card back in your hand. So that's the reason why this card is so tough in my personal opinion, and it's doing work. I mean, like I said, a lot of people in the East still think that this is the second best deck and Dolphy's first, depending on who you ask. This could be first, this could be second, this could be first, this could be second. It's all depending on who you ask. Let's go into our next deck, which is Blue Black Usopp. Instead of me actually bringing up every single new card that this Blue Black Usopp is using, let's just go over to One Piece top decks and break down why this is particularly the best, third best deck in the format according to the Japan players. So first off, before we go on over this, look, when I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Apparently I'm wrong. It looks like this Blue Black Usopp is doing a ton of work. It is officially the third best deck in the format after a month into OP10 in the East. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get straight into it. This one, a flagship 5-0. If you guys don't know what Blue and Black Usopp does, let's go ahead and read it real quick. Your cost 2 and greater Dressrosa type characters have a +1 cost. So this is pretty much to have a better matchup into all the black, making it harder for them to KO anything. Pretty much the ST14 Luffy effect. And then opponent's turn, once per turn, this effect may be activated when one of your Dressrosa type characters leaves the field by your opponent's effect or KO'd. If you have 5 or less cards in your hand, draw 1 card. So just being able to have some type of way to recycle your hand off of a Dressrosa card or character, I mean, is very good in my personal opinion. But when we just take a look at everything, the new cards that this particular deck is running is this Zoro. This is one of the staples and glue of the deck. He is also running 3. He's only running 3. I didn't see a lot of lists run 4, but he's opting out to run 3. Let's see this. On play, you may rest up to 1 of your Dressrosa type leaders or stages, KO up to 1 of your opponent's cost 4 or lower characters. So that cost 4 is actually this is very strong. That 4 is a little bit better than the Brook, allowing you to not invest too much into the field to really remove anything on the field. Then let's go ahead and read the rest of it. Then place the top 2 cards of your deck into your trash, so also filling up your trash as well. Very good staple, and it's a 4-drop at a 6k power. This is another new card that they are running. On KO, play up to 1 cost 3 or lower Dressrosa type characters rested from your trash. So just being able to have a miniature gecko effect on KO is actually brazy as hell. Fact, that opinion. You also play this Jozu in this blue deck just to have a way for some type of board removal, just adding it to your hand. Same thing with this Kairos right here. Return a 5 cost of lore character to its owner's hand. It is a 7, so it is a little high in my personal opinion, but hey, it works. And this is a stable because they're both running 4 and 3. This is a brand new card. This sub, I've never even seen it before. Let's go ahead and read it. It has a 4-drop 2k power, 2k counter, I'm sorry, which is very, look, you can't go wrong with that. If one of your characters other than Sabo from original cost of 7 or lower leaves from the field by your opponent's effect, you may return this character to your hand instead. So having some blanket protection from anything with a 7 cost of lore, you can't beat it. You can't beat it. And the main thing of this deck is they're playing the 4 Gum Red Rocks, just pretty much bottom decking anything in the game. Very crazy. But the biggest thing of these two, Coliseum, but it's really this Rebecca. If there is an 8 cost or more character, draw 1 card. The reveal of the 2 cost 7 or lower Dressrosa type characters other than Rebecca from your hand, play one of them. Then if the other card has a cost of 4 or lower, play it rested. So since everybody has that +1, it allows you to, you know, summon this, just summon a lot of things in the deck that you wouldn't be able to summon unless you had the Usopp's effect. Very Shiest in my personal opinion. This is literally a gecko, and as you guys can see, they completely cut gecko. That's how strong that this Rebecca card is that they literally just cut Gecko Moria. Gecko Moria is not even being played in the deck because this is literally a built-in Gecko Moria off rip. So that is the Usopp deck in a nutshell. I mean, pretty much anything with a blue-black combo. Look, I wasn't around for Sakazuki. A lot of people are asking me, you know, when I started really in OP06, really on the tail end of when EBO1 first came out. I skipped that whole entire Sakazuki bullshit that, you know, was really running the streets. But for what people are telling me, blue and black is the best color combo in the game. And the fact that we now have a blue-black leader that can attack, that's not Rebecca, it's the reason why it's the 3rd best deck of the format. The 4th best deck of the format has to be Ploofy. Look, I'm not going to talk too much about this Ploofy deck because quite honestly, there's nothing changed with Ploofy. Pretty much 99.9% of all the Ploofy decks topping right now in OP10 is literally using everything for OP09. So if you guys are using Ploofy and wondering, is this deck going to be viable at OP10? Well, it's a top 5 deck in OP10 according to the Japanese meta based off data and facts and not, you know, opinions and lies. Okay, I know a lot of people out here are saying, oh, I feel like this deck is good. Nobody gives a fuck about what you feel. Let me see the stats. Let me see, you know, the statistics. That's all I want to hear. And based off stats, Ploofy is the 4th best deck of the format. The 5th best deck of the format, and probably the only real black deck of the format, excluding Lucci, because we don't count this as a regular black deck, is it plays its own game, kind of like BY Luffy, is Smoker. A lot of you guys are asking, why is Smoker all of a sudden better than Lucci? The main reason why is Tashigi alone, and having access to, what's it called, Jack, and just having access to Jack as well. Being able to have all those activate mains allows you to play around Blackbeard. The thing about this particular deck is that, you know, if you play against Blackbeard, you're pretty much almost always losing, compared to Smoker, that's Tashigi, just being able to have that activate main and trash anything on the board. Very shiesty in my personal opinion, and that's the reason why Smoker is a little bit better in OP10 compared to Rob Lucci. Blackbeard got a huge buff, and you know, since he got a buff, you need something to circumvent that, and I feel like Smoker just does a better job compared to Rob Lucci. You know, if we, you know, look at a best out of 10 games, I feel like Smoker's going to be winning more games compared to Rob Lucci, and that's the reason why the Japanese players in the East is putting this in 1.5 compared to Rob Lucci, which is in tier 2. So the next leader we have right here, that's the last leader in 1.5, is the brand new leader in R Green Smoker. Look, I usually go to One Piece top decks, but let's be real, a lot of things that's used in this particular deck we're already using in some previous decks, such as the 8 Cost Kid. The main reason why you use this deck is for the 8 Cost Kid locking down the opponent's field, the 10 drop Doflamingo, just being able to birdcage everybody and really just spin and flip the board as fast as possible. Okay, just being able to rush while resting, you really can't beat that. Okay, if you guys do want to see a deck list, I'll have a deck list below, but let's be real, the sim's not even updated, and a lot of people's not really that interested in this red-green smoker, so I'm not going to go on One Piece top decks. But if you guys do want a deck list, once the sim does get updated, we will be doing a master video and all the topping deck lists, kind of like what we did for OP10. I just don't really feel like, you know, featuring this deck in One Piece top decks, because I honestly think a lot of people don't really even like this leader in the West. If I'm wrong, let me know below. Tell me if you're a smoker fan. The next deck we're going to talk about is BY Luffy. BY Luffy is now sitting in the tier 2, which is crazy because I just made a free master class guide, and I actually told you guys BY Luffy was a tier 2 deck. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. So when we take a look at all the decks that's added, BY Luffy only has a decent matchup into Shanks, Doffy. This one doesn't count because this is the Ditto, and also Katakuri and Lucci. So let's be real, nobody's really playing Katakuri. Yes, some people, not that many playing Lucci. Everybody's playing Shanks, everybody's playing Doffy, but when we look at everything else, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 8 bad matchups against all the meta. I mean, when we make a tier list, this deck's in the top 10, top 10, top 10, top 10, top 10, top 10. BY Luffy has a bad matchup damn near against fucking everything. So in my personal opinion, we're just talking about just the deck in itself and its matchups, not depending on, you know, who pilots it. In my eyes, this is a tier 2 deck. This is a tier 2 deck. I'm saying it right now. I know people are going to say, oh, well, the pilot. We're not talking about fucking pilots. We're talking about the deck's highest potential against the meta. And when we look at BY Luffy's deck's highest potential against the meta, it has damn near almost 10 bad matchups, and that's not a tier 1 deck. I mean, tier 1 decks don't have 10 damn near bad matchups. All right, so this is a tier 2 deck, maybe 1.5 if that, if you guys just want to be nice. But let's be real, let's just put it up to 2. I really don't like doing 1.5s or nothing like that. So this is a tier 2 deck in my personal opinion.
Man, I'm tired of being right.
Wow, that's crazy. It almost feels like we're just always right, whether it will be the market watches, the state of the meta game, calling Blackbeard going to be broken. I honestly think the delinquents in me, because I want to be nowhere without the delinquents. I feel like the delinquents and we know the most in the streets when it comes to this One Piece card game. I mean, I feel like track record is unbeatable at this point. But BY Luffy, I'm not going to spend too much on it. If you guys do want to know why it is tier 2, check out that master class guide, free master class guide that's on the channel. But in a nutshell, if you guys just want a quick rundown of why BY Luffy is a tier 2, it's just because it's a high skill ceiling. I honestly think ever since Blackbeard got that Kuzan added in OP10, I feel like this is back to being the hardest deck in the game to play. And the real reason why this is in tier 2, because a lot of people don't want to spend this much effort into this deck compared to playing some of these other decks a little bit easier. You don't really need to think about sequencing that much. You don't need to think about comboing off every single turn. You don't need to, you know, predict what the opponent's doing. Like, there's really not that much thought process into a lot of these other decks. Maybe these Blackbeard, but Blackbeard did get a little bit easier to run with the Kuzan, just being able to bring a card back compared to BY Luffy. So BY Luffy tier 2, but if a shicey ass player is playing BY Luffy, everybody's bitch is getting fucked. Fact, not an opinion. Okay, BY Luffy, I feel like it's just going to get better with EBO2 if the searchers as well. So, you know, if you guys do want to play the hardest deck in the game, the most combo centric, hardest combo deck in the game is this one. But let's be real, everybody in the West has the attention spans of goldfish. So, you know, I feel like nobody's going to play this because they just don't have the patience to play this. Next leader that we have is the Shanks. So Shanks in OP10 didn't really get nothing too crazy. I mean, the only new cards that they ended up getting was this Tony Chopper you guys see on the screen right now. It's really an easy card to really read if you guys look at it. This character gains an extra 2,000 power. It's a 6,000 blocker with a 4 drop, but the biggest selling part with this card is this 2k counter. Just being able to have a 4 drop 2k counter sitting at 6,000 on their opponent's turn. This is almost a buffed up version of Borsalino in black. So the fact that this Tony Chopper did get this, it doesn't have a protection like Borsalino, but it does have that extra power bump when it's your opponent's turn. That's one of the new cards that the Shanks deck did get. The main Shanks card that they did get with OP10 is Divine Departure. You may rest 5 Don, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with an 8,000 power or less. So you have some blanket board removal at a 1-drop, and also it's a counter to one of your opponent's leader or characters gain 3,000 power during this battle. So just being able to have a blanket 3,000 power on top of just being able to remove any 8,000 power or less by sacrificing some Don. I mean, this card utility is actually pretty insane, but it's still sitting in the tier 2. Like I said, I talked to a lot of people in the East. In my Discord, I have a ton of people from the East in my Discord, and a lot of people tell me that, you know, Shanks is just a one-piece deck on training wheels. That's pretty much what it is. It's literally a red deck on training wheels. So pretty much if you're brand new to the game, go ahead and start with Shanks, but maybe not start with Shanks, because let's be honest, Shanks might be the most expensive deck in the game right now, especially in the West, since it is actually doing something in the West. So the next deck we're going to talk about is the brand new OP10 leader, which is OP10 Green Yellow Law. Unlike this Smoker, let's just go over 2 one-piece top decks, since this is a fan favorite. I can already see it now. This is going to be a fan favorite deck. Just give me 1 second here. So this is the Yellow Green Law. It literally got top 16 in Tokyo area, 8 and 2. So this is a winning list. Like I said, once the sim actually gets updated, y'all, I will be making sure to bless you guys of all the first place lists that is currently out in the OP10 meta, so you guys can try them out on the sim. Let's go ahead and read what T-Law even does. Green Yellow T-Law. Times 1 activate main once per turn. If the total cost of your characters is 5 or more, you return one of your characters to the hand. Reveal your top life card, and if it was a Supernova type character with a cost 5 or less, you could play it. So pretty much this whole entire deck is a rushing deck. This pretty much is a gas to the floor, pedal to the metal type of deck, and you literally have to high roll. That's literally the deck. If you high roll with this deck, you pretty much win. If you don't high roll, you pretty much lose. That's pretty much how it is. Let's just read over some of these newer cards that they are using. This is just a regular card. Actually, this is even a new card. This looks like it's an older card. It's not even from OP10. Let's go ahead and look. This is from OP10 Jewelry Body 3-drop, 1K counter, on play blocker at the top. So this is a searcher. We're not going to read this. This is a searcher. This is a searcher right here. So let's go ahead and read this Zora though. This Zora is just a rush pretty much. If your life is fewer than your opponent's, this character gains rush. So this is pretty much a 3-drop 5K version of the red version of Zoro, and it also has a crazy trigger. I would say crazy, pretty decent trigger as well, just pretty much abusing all the supernovas. So this is a supernova type of deck. Another card that this deck really is abusing is this Basil Hawkins. Place up to 1 card from your top of your opponent's life into the trash. Very shicey. I mean, pretty much this is a reverse Kiku Nojo. Very good in my personal opinion, just being able to poke, and if your opponent gets rid of it, they lose a life. The boss monster of this deck is this particular card, is this T-Law. Reveal a Supernova type character's card from your hand and add it to the top of your life face down. Then if your leader has a Supernovas type, give up to one of your rested Don to your leader. So this is pretty much has a dragon type effect, just giving some of your rested Don to your leader to being able to attack. It's stat line is actually pretty insane too. 7K, 9,000 power. This is the boss monster of the deck. Let's just go ahead and keep on going. A lot of these older cards we aren't really going to talk about. The only thing I'm really going to talk about is he isn't running the carrot. He is opting out for the 9-drop Shanks. He is also running 4. I feel like these ratios may choose, or this is just all personal preference. I see some people probably running the 4 Shanks, or I also see some people running like some Zoro mixed in, or some Hody Jones mixed in, like what they do with the red green smoker. And yeah, when we just look at everything else, this is literally a high rolling deck. In order for you to really be good with this deck, you have to high roll. Almost kind of reminds me of Reiju. When Reiju high rolls, is unbeatable. When it doesn't high roll, this deck pretty much folds. That's pretty much this deck in a nutshell. Okay, so hopefully I was able to break this down as easy as possible for you. Okay, so let's go ahead and get straight back into our tier list. So the next deck we have is Rob Lucci. So Rob Lucci in OP10 is literally a worse version of Smoker. Yes, Smoker took Rob Lucci's spot. It took his job pretty much, just because of how popular this Black Teach is with the support. Since this is literally the second best deck in the format, you're going to struggle as long as you're playing Rob Lucci. At this point in OP10 with the brand new support, you might as well go ahead and make the transition to the Smoker, just because, you know, with us, look, if you're a Shiest and Smoker player, you pretty much almost never lose, to be honest with you. Okay, I mean, they're still doing the Rebecca Gecko spam, but the biggest thing about this deck is that this Smoker has Tashigi. Okay, you guys don't understand how important Tashigi is, and Tashigi actually shines at OP10 just because Blackbeard did get that support. So if you are a Rob Lucci fan, you guys can still play Rob Lucci. It's just going to be a lot harder because there's really no way for you to have any type of board removal while this effect is still in play. Unless you're using the Jack, and you know, a lot of the Smoker players in OP10 is actually already using the Jack. And now, so Enel actually got some support. People didn't even know it got support, which is actually insane. Let's go over some of these cards that Enel got. I know, first off, I gotta say this: YGOD, Yellow Gang of Die, YGOD. Shout out to all my delinquents and all my jits that hopped off the porch. You already know what time it is. Gang type shit. But the main reason why Enel is probably going to be a tier 0 deck once EBO2 comes out is not only does it have a pretty decent matchup right now into Blackbeard with X Drake. You see this card on the screen? A lot of people didn't even know this card existed with OP10, whether it would be the Japanese players or the West. Everybody just skipped over this card. Let's go ahead and read it. You may rest this character if the number of your life cards is less than or equal to the number of your opponent's life card. Rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a 4 or less. This pretty much allows you to get over Burgess. Burgess is no longer safe on the board. You just keep on resting, attack into it. That's really the main way how you beat Blackbeard, is really with this card. So this is always being ran at 4. The next new card that Enel's running in OP10 is Damn Punk's Electromatic Cannon. This is pretty much a finger pistol just with a 4. Literally just a finger pistol. This is just a yellow version of a finger pistol. Let's go ahead and read it. Main, look at up to 1 card from the top of your opponent's life cards. Place it on the top or bottom of the life cards. Then KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost 5 or less. So like I said, this is just a yellow version of finger pistol, and it also has a pretty good trigger as well. Draw to discard 1 card from your hand. So this is pretty much a finger pistol, but if you do get out of trigger, it allows you to recycle your hand as well. So this is pretty much a sheer Hoshi if you get this out of trigger. The other card that I see a lot of people teched in is this Lucy for the Blackbeard matchup, and you guys can actually use this right now in OP09 if you guys are playing Enel. YGOD. When attacking once per turn, you may put the top or bottom card of your life pile into your hand. Rest up to one of your opponent's cost 4 or less, so you pretty much can spin the block against Blackbeard. Fuck Blackbeard's bitch if he has a bitch with how ugly he is. Then if your life total is 1 or less, place the top card of your deck onto your top of your life. So this is also another way to really have a better matchup into Blackbeard for OP09. So you guys only need to wait until OP10 to get that X Drake. We initially covered a couple cards before. You guys can use this down, still have a really good matchup into Blackbeard, as long as you can get this out on the field without it getting removed with Don Q or anything like that. But all in all, Enel's gonna be I feel like Enel's gonna be a top 3 deck once EBO2 comes out. EBO2 gets the brand new yellow searchers, pretty much searching out the brand new Enel. That Enel's actually crazy too, so it gets a searcher to search the brand new broken Enel. Enel's gonna, once EBO2 comes out, I feel like Enel's gonna be like somewhere right here, probably somewhere right here, or possibly right behind Dofi, because it does have a good matchup in the Dofi. It's gonna have a good match. I honestly think Enel might be the best deck once EBO2 comes out. This is just my opinion. This is not a fact. This is just my opinion, because it has a good matchup with the Dofi, has a decent matchup with the Blackbeard. I feel like once EBO2 comes out with all the support, this is probably going to be the best deck of the format. Might even be tier 0, but we have to wait and see. The next deck that we're going to talk about is tier 2.5. So all these other decks, I'm not going to really spend too much time on it, because these are kind of like the lower end of the decks. I mean, if you guys remember our older tier list, I have S, A, B, C, D. This is cold and dog water. Once we get to these lower end decks, we don't really talk too much about them, but we'll talk about it briefly here. Pluffy, I would say Pluffy, Blue Black Luffy. I don't even understand how this guy even put this deck here. When I was looking at One Piece top decks, I barely seen any of these decks topping. I don't know why they possibly put this deck here. They didn't really get any support as well. They're using all the cards from OP10 still, so I don't know why this is here. It's something I don't know. If you guys are in the East, let me know. Same thing with this kid. We're not going to show you a One Piece top decks because, let's be real, it's literally in cold, so it's literally not barely making the tier list, so we're not even going to feature it. But if you guys don't know what this card does, or this leader does, pretty much the whole gist of this deck is to burn your opponent with the 8-drop kid or the Basil Hawkins, being able to restand the block. That's pretty much how this deck works. In my personal opinion, I feel like there's no real reason to run this deck when you could just run a nail. I feel like it just has a little bit better of a matchup into everything that we have on the screen right now. And I don't know, I feel like this deck just needs more support. I don't expect this deck to be the best deck up here. Oh shit, no. I feel like, you know, it just needs a little bit more support. I feel like there's no reason to use this leader if you could just use an L, and it shows based off his tier list before EBO2. Next deck we have right here is Bonnie. I actually don't even barely see any Bonnie as well. Nothing has changed for Bonnie. Nothing has been added to this Bonnie deck. I took a look at a lot of the lists. Some of them are using, actually, that's what I think about. There's really nothing new in this Jewelry Bonnie. So Jewelry Bonnie still doing Jewelry Bonnie things. Like I said, I feel like it's always going to be a top 10 deck. It is also the best green mono deck out there. So if you guys just are a green deck, it's still going to be viable, but you know, you have a lot of bad matchups, but it is the best green deck. Next deck is Nami. We don't talk about Voldemort on the channel, and we're also going to put Voldemort probably. I mean, if we could just take this off the screen, I would. I feel like this is tainting. There we go. We just took Nami off the screen. Oh, no. Nami's right here. Let's just put Nami right here in the back. And the last deck we have to talk about is Lim. A lot of people were hyped about Lim when Lim first came up on the scene week 1. Main reason why this deck did so well week 1 is because nobody knew what this deck did. Now, after a month and the time has passed since people figure out how to play against Lim, Lim is now in the same spot as Nami. Actually, it's a way better deck than Nami. Okay, Nami can go fuck herself. That's what and a lot of y'all Nami players will probably go on there and watch because y'all some freak bulls. Okay, probably looking at her toes while she's doing it. Crazy work. But Lim is the same position as Nami. It's just everybody figured out how to play Lim. Lim had that surprise factor. Oh shit, new deck, new set. What in the world does this deck do? And after a week or two has passed, people figure out that Lim ain't shit. And that's why, since Lim ain't shit, she's in the last tier. So look, this is literally the tier list, the most accurate OP10 tier list that has come out to date. I need to wait until we do an actual, you know, meta report with data. I haven't found any charts yet. I guess they're still calculating after a month or two, but once that data list comes out, I will be sure to bring it to you. We haven't really talked too much about OP10 at all since OP09 has come out. So, you know, I just want to refresh you guys and tell you what is possibly meta and what you guys should be practicing now going into OP10, because yeah, OP9 just came out, but you guys should be using a deck that can be used in OP10 and EBO2, mainly EBO2. EBO2 is going to be a really crazy set. Before we go, you guys see another match on the screen. I'm gonna start doing this every single video. A lot of people just like watching some cracked BY Luffy gameplay against random leaders. I know you guys are getting tired of watching me play against the Dofis, the Blackbeards. I mean, the shit gets boring after a while, so I just want to show some other decks some light, because you know it's always fun seeing some rogue shit. And for instance, right now you're watching RB Garp versus BY Luffy. Enjoy the rest of the game. But yeah, but that's all I got. But look, if you was feeling the vibes, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And go.